Let's see how this goes. This plays out. I don't. I'm a little bit frustrated because this thing is like really, really glitchy, and it was earlier. I don't think it's doing it as much now. It wants me to do this update, but I don't want to do it until after the stream. Be one of those things where I won't be able to connect back to internet.
Give your phone. We'll chat. I just got a notification that
Oh,
Mexicali's going live.
yeah,
We should watch that.
All right.
probably. It'll be interesting to say the least. We'll see. I don't know how much longer they're. I know most of the people are over at
Okay.
Foxy's right now, so whenever they get done, I'm sure they'll start migrating this way. Well, you got Kyle.
Just
Kyle,
mute it.
outside in aquatics. Thank you for being here. Um, we'll just give it a little bit. I know.
Is that the
I
new
know they have.
doctor?
Is that what?
The new doctor? His name?
Yeah, that's Doctor Kyle or Doctor Outside. Seems
Yeah.
like
How you doing,
it seems
Kyle?
like nowadays anybody can call themselves. Well, if Dre can call himself Doctor Dre, why can't Kyle call himself Doctor Outside?
I mean, I'm a doctor in at least 3 countries, just not this one.
I like to play doctor. Does that count? Oh, my wife's on here. Only with you, babe. Only with you.
Yeah, not the cousins.
Yeah, we'll play police some other day. Let's see, Sam. Why are we always yelling? Thank you for being here.
Well,
Lake Missoula, Ben. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Uh, yeah, it's this is gonna drive me a little bit nuts because it's doing it again. I
looks
hate
good
that
on
it
my
has.
side.
Yeah, I know, Dr. Phil too. Well, that's right. He doesn't have a doctorate. It's just a stage name. I guess we can call it a stage name for Kyle. But well, for those of you guys that are joining us here today, we have something a little bit special. Usually, when I do these, it's normally me and just a guest. But today, I have the what do you want to call it? Luxury, advantage, privilege. Privilege is what I'm looking for, of having Alex join me, and while we get to meet Zac from Nezzy Nets. Um, I know that we've been talking about Nezzy Nets for a little bit. Alex had kind of pointed his channel out to me, and then we did that plug where we kind of talked a little bit about his channel. Again, if you go to his channel, it's a little bit misleading because he's only got a couple of videos, and that's why we were telling you guys to wait for Alex's fish room tour, because then you were really going to get an insight as to the madman that Zac is. But Zac, would you mind giving us a little bit of your background and a little bit of your history in the hobby?
Sure. I guess I'd say I've only really been in this for about 3 years. 3 years ago, I had broken my collarbone, and I just set up a freshwater tank, just got cycled and everything. And once it had broken my collarbone, I had to get surgery, get a titanium plate with 7 screws and whatnot. But during the resting period, I was out of work for 3 months straight, and I did heating and air. I was a service tech for a while, and during that time that I was out, I pretty much, right before surgery, I went to like Petco and got a couple neon tetras and some bristlenose plecos, and pretty much stared at them for 3 months straight, as well as YouTube University helped me out with a lot of the fish keeping throughout the 3 months. I pretty much feel like I've got 3 years or so worth of education within the time I was out of that work. So once I pretty much realized, I also had some ghost shrimp inside of my tank. So when I realized I had some little baby ghost shrimps, it kind of got me excited to see if I could reproduce some shrimp. And ghost shrimp are definitely not a great start, for trying to breed anything. But then I moved on to neocardinas, all the cherries, and that's really what provided the spark for me to kind of start what I did. just trying to breed shrimp to see if I can make some money, while I was out of work for 3 months straight. And realistically, you're not going to make money trying to breed something within 3 months. It's not going to have a good return. You got to wait a little longer than that. But, I sent it, and here I am. Now breeding mostly fish, and I have a decent bit of neocaridina. I watch the Garden of Eater live streams every Monday, and that's really kind of what got me the drive to continue on with the larger scale, fish breeding and everything like that. So
Now,
here I am.
So you started 3 years ago. When does the idea for, okay, I have one tank, now I got to have 2, 3, 4 to, how many is it now? You said in the video it was like over 100 tanks.
I'm currently at about, if I were to have these tanks on this right side here all filled up, it would be 175 currently running. But I'm planning on over 200. I mean, I have over 200 tanks that are planned on getting set up. It's just, it's just me and time's time.
Since that first video, he's gotten like, I don't even know how many more. I'm telling you, there's like, we're running out of space in here.
Yeah, I got to make some more space.
Now your fish room is in what part of the house?
Well,
Which fish room?
the original one is in the upper floor, in the top floor, and that's the room that I was stuck in for 3 months straight. And I kind of I have, I think, probably 30 tanks in that room, and then everything else is in the basement. And I have a few other tanks elsewhere in the house, but mostly the basement.
Well, so you weren't joking about watching the Garden of Eater. Are you trying to also have a fish house instead of a fish room?
Yeah, I don't plan to have 500 tanks in my house, but I'll probably stay with around 250. That's the goal. Not as crazy as them though. With love.
Now that you've got that many tanks, though, what's the purpose or the goal of having so many aquariums? Is it just wanting that many species of fish, or is there a long go project that you're working on?
Well, ultimately I'm a fish breeder, so
Okay.
having multiple tanks is definitely necessary for the fry and everything like that to grow out. And I'm also a big fan of conserving species of fish. So having a little bit more tanks for the rarer fish that are endangered, I'll set up for them. But the quantity of 10 gallons that I have is mainly for like the fry and the variety of species that I have to grow out for them. So a lot of my rainbows need a lot of 10-gallon tanks for the fry.
No, okay.
That's the main reason.
Looks like people are starting to fill in now.
Yeah, that's what we got. Shirley
Jose,
that just
Jody,
came in.
Uncle
Jody P.
Smiley, he's in our club.
Oh, nice.
Oh, he is. He's there in Atlanta.
Yeah, Uncle Smiley. He sits next to me at all of our club meetings.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a little jealous because it seems like out there in Atlanta, you got some pretty big ballers going out there. You got
We've
Mitchell,
got everything
you
but a
got Zac.
show.
Everybody but who?
We have everything but a show here.
Yeah, there needs to be a show here. Yeah.
And we've got, hundreds of venues, and we're right up on the airport and everything too. Like, it's like, I don't know why they don't do it here.
If Dragon Con can happen here, then something fish related can happen here.
Well, maybe they tried 1 year instead of doing it in Florida, they do it there in Georgia.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper and probably nicer than some of the places we're at in Florida.
Yeah, because what was the last time? Daytona, the last place they did it?
The last one was Daytona. They had real bad problems with Orlando.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I guess I was looking at their website just yesterday, and I guess it Aquashell, like from what it seems or what AI is saying is they're kind of expanding. They're going to 5 venues now, which is going to be the original 3, which is Chicago, Dallas, Chicago, Dallas, and somewhere in Florida, with the addition of New Jersey and now LA. And with the good turnouts they had in New Jersey and LA, I think they're gonna, for the time being, are thinking about making them a permanent part of the rotation until I guess things change. But that's still not, that was just like a brief that they put out, but I don't think it's set in stone because they don't have any dates yet. So that'll be interesting to see if it really does take off like that. Somebody had mentioned that they want to alternate instead of doing it every year. They're going to alternate the venues, which I guess that could be okay. Um, it'll create some interest. I know sometimes people start. This isn't that what kind of happened in Florida, where people were taking it for granted because they were having it there every year, and people just kind of quit going. Or I don't know.
I think the problem with the Florida show is that there's like 5 to 10 Florida shows. Like there was one 2 weeks ago. It was smaller, and then there's like a whole bunch of it was like Aqua Expo or something, and then they have a whole bunch of saltwater shows there. Like,
well, I know they had the
a year.
one for the fish club down there, the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
That was what, last weekend, I think. Is that Alex on the right? Right? Yeah, that's Alex. It's on my left though.
Or my Discord.
No.
Yeah. But anyways, getting back to Zach, because we kind of got sidetracked there. So I know you said you're a breeder. Are you breeding and selling out of your own place, or are you just doing like wholesale to fish stores, or going directly to fish clubs, or all of the above?
Pretty much all of the above. So the wholesale is actually kind of a goal of mine. I have like 400-gallon totes outside where I was going to attempt with some more rice fish and maybe dabble with some neocaridine outside. But primarily for the club, I'll sell on my website. Selling some Aqua Finder here soon. It's really, just kind of starting up a little bit more and more, as I go. But primarily, most of my sales have been coming from the club meetings, auctions, swap meets, and occasional online sales. I'm working on getting more of that going. So,
For your online sales, are you setting up a website for that, or is it just how do they get a hold of you if somebody wanted to buy something from you?
yeah. So I do have a website. It's nezzynets.com. I'm still trying to get it all set up, but it is active, and I do have fish available for sale on there. I just need to update, more fish that are available and some of my products on there. But that's a website that I do have up for, anything that I do have for sale.
For your sales, is it just stuff that you're breeding, or are you actually importing stuff and bringing it into the fish room?
As of now, it's mostly anything I'm breeding. I don't flip fish at the moment. I'm not really too sure if I'm going to get too much into that. But I do have my import license, primarily to, get myself some more of the rare varieties that I can breed out for people. But it has come across my mind to, maybe bring in some species that are, a little more rare, and that, instead of breeding them, I can, provide them to the people that may want them as well. Because, this hobby is all about sharing what's rare out there and spreading the love and making sure that, not being greedy with the fish you got, and you really want to spread the species out, especially if they're rare. It's good for them.
Well, with that many tags, are you trying to focus on any species in particular, or you're just trying to breed anything you get your hands on?
Well, I'm primarily focusing on pseudomcgills, like any of the blue eye rainbows. Those are like my big thing. Also discus. Those are another thing I'm focusing on. Pretty much, yeah, they're here to hang out with us. But a lot of nano fish as well. I don't really grab anything and try to breed it. That's, if I don't love it, I don't really want it to breed it.
Okay.
That's kind of how I roll, and I think that's how it should be. But rice fish is also, a big thing that I'm into as well. I think that's a new, up and coming fish. Anytime I sell them at the swap meets, they go like hotcakes. So that's something I'm focusing a lot more on this coming season, next season. But yeah, that's really just killifish, rainbows, blue eye rainbows, some of the oddball nanos.
You got a lot of Corys too here.
Corridors, yeah. I can't forget about the
Okay.
Corys. Yeah, that's I love them. They're awesome, but they're also my wife's favorites. So that's what keeps her interested in the hobby. So corridors, we can have as many of, So I'll allow
Now,
all the Corys. All the Corys are allowed in here.
are you trying to breed those too, or are you just kind of
Oh
keeping
yeah,
them? Okay. So
yeah. I
basically,
have.
anything in your fish room is stuff you're going to try to breed.
I do enjoy breeding fish. So yeah, pretty much anything I keep, I'll try to breed, except the koi's. I'm not
Mm.
getting into koi fish.
So you got a pond outside or something?
No, so they're smaller. They're
Okay.
they're smaller, but people ask me if I'm going to try to breed them, and I'm just not going to. But I am going to have a pond, hopefully by next summer.
Okay.
The goal is to be about 4,500 gallons. So we'll see how that goes. It's designed
Yeah.
already. It's already designed and everything, but
Is that going to be an indoor or outdoor pond?
it's an outdoor pond.
Oh,
Have a little waterfall going to it. And
oh,
whatnot.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Uh, I know you had mentioned the rice fish, and that seems to be like a real trendy fish right now. I know one of the reasons why I think they're, I guess one of the main reasons why I think they're kind of trendy is the fact that in most places you can keep them outdoors year round. They're kind of like a miniature koi. It's one of those fish that I think do pretty well. I know in Georgia, you guys can keep them outdoors. There's a gentleman that I've been watching lately, Johnny
Right.
Sweet
I just saw him
Ponds,
too.
and and he's been keeping a little mini ponds for rice fish, and he keeps them outdoors year round. And I was just watching one of his last videos where he was talking about substrate, and he doesn't bring them in. And one of the things he was talking about is that as long as the water doesn't freeze solid, you can have ice on the top and the surface, but the fish will survive. And once it thaws out, they're good to go. I know Corey one year, but it wasn't for a very long time. He had one of those big 300-gallon totes outside his store or warehouse or something, and they kind of froze over, and they were fine too. So I guess they're pretty resilient, and they can tolerate a lot of different temperatures. I know Funk and I were kind of going back and forth whether that was going to be a trend fish, if it was a rice fish were really for here to stay, or is it a trendy fish. But I think they're gonna be pretty consistently staying here just because of
Yeah,
the
I think they're
versatility.
growing.
Yeah. It's a new fancy
Yeah.
guppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, the difference is, I think the big difference is that you don't have to worry about the temperatures you keep them in, because they
Hmm.
tolerate such a wide range. If you want to do just ambient temperature aquariums, they're great for that too. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to keep them outdoors. So I think that's what's going to be the big upsell for those, or why they're going to be able to stay here for longer times, is just because it gives you so much versatility as to how you can keep them.
It's true. I mean, I've kept them over the winter. I've actually had some freeze over in like about 3 inches of ice, and probably had about 8 inches or so of water underneath that 3 inches. And once that ice thawed out, they come out fat and they lay more eggs than they ever had before. So, if anything, I actually find what I call like winterizing rice fish is actually very beneficial for them, and will actually allow them to produce more eggs if they go through that cycle. It's actually really cool. It's something that most people uh, can get a hold of. Not too expensive, and they can really keep them outside all year round. Or like in my living room, I have a little small bowl from like Home Depot, a planter bowl, and I just fill it up with water and have a light on it and no air, and they thrive. They lay eggs in that too. They're pretty awesome fish for a lot of different things.
I think
Yes, like
most
I said.
people aren't going to clubs and stuff, and so they're not seeing rice fish there. They're not buying fish online. As soon as rice fish or just Medaka in general just start blowing up at like PetSmart, Petco, where most people get like, most of their fish, I think that's when it's gonna start exploding. Because as soon as people realize like, oh, I don't need a heater on this, I don't need a light on this, I can leave it on my patio, I can leave it in my living room. It's like super low maintenance. They look cool. I mean, they're meant to be looked at from above, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
So all the like the sparkle and stuff, you don't need to have a tank. You can have it, you know, in like a little planter or something, and you just look down and they look pretty. So as soon as they start becoming a little bit more mainstream, I think it's gonna like it's gonna start going, and then it's just gonna really take off.
Yeah, and that's what um Funk was saying. He goes, I don't know if they're going to get into uh like the big box stores because most people don't know what they are. But I was kind of like, nah, but you know what? Knowing that you can pretty much keep these anywhere, I think that in itself is going to make it where it's going to be a sought out fish because
Mhm.
you're not. Let's say that you wanted to keep them indoors, but you don't want to run a heater or whatever. You're still going to be okay. You want to keep a pond outside. Maybe you don't have the area to do a koi pond, but do setting up a flower pot that that you put outside kind of gives you that same effect.
Oh, exactly.
Because just like koi's, you're only seeing them from the top. Once you walk up to where they're at, and that's why I try to convince them is like that was my argument is like I think they're here to stay. I don't think it's going to be a trendy fish that just kind of comes in and then just kind of goes by the wayside. I just think right now they're relatively new here in the states. They have a long history in Japan. I mean, that's where a lot of these variants are coming from because they've been playing with these for such a long time. That I really do think it's going to take about 2 or 3 years before they really really catch on here in the states.
I, I definitely agree. I mean, it's definitely something that's slowly becoming more popular. I do see, like in the forums and all in the club, more and more people asking for Medaka. It's definitely something I believe is definitely growing. And whenever I was hanging out with Dean, he was saying the same thing. He believes that the Medaka are the new cool fish, and I agree. They're awesome. I mean, I definitely love them. You know, and collecting eggs from them. I'm just it's fun.
Yeah, the only thing is I guess there's certain variants that that are that are hard to keep straight because they have a lot of culling that you have to do. They have a lot of bent spines. So I don't know how much that's going to really hinder the hobby. People that are not doing their due diligence when it comes to breeding them. Um, that's one thing that people have to get educated on when you go buy these fish to make sure that you're buying fish that are not necessarily healthy, but that they don't have any bent backs or stuff like that. And I
Yeah,
guess the fancier fins is really where you start getting to that problem. Because that I didn't know that either. But just like betta fish, they have all these variants of tails and fins. The same thing with Medaka, and I guess the fancier they get, the harder it is to make sure that they don't start having genetic problems. So, but
that's true.
I'd be happy just with the regular traditional platinum ones. Um,
They're awesome. I love the platinum ones. They shine like crazy. And, looking down on them, I see all the lame, all the sparkle and everything. The platinums are definitely a great rice fish for anybody to start with, or any long keeping of fish, or long fish keeper, whatever you say, is definitely a good one for them. It's beautiful.
yeah, I don't know how resilient they are. It, to me, it seems like unless you really do something wrong, you're going to kill them. But I think for the most part, they seem like they hold up pretty well.
Very resilient. Yeah, that's probably my one of my more resilient of rice fish. Especially if you get them from a good source, they're not going to be as inbred and everything. But yeah, super resilient. Especially if you let them go through that winterization cycle, they'll be even more resilient. As the days go on.
Well, and going back to a little bit about your background, I know you started 3 years ago, but at what point during that time is it that you find the fish club and start getting involved with the fish club?
I'd say probably about 2 years ago. That's when I was watching a little more on like how can I, maybe get my name more out there, or how can I get more connected with more fish keepers? Because any of my original friends, which they're still my friends, but can't really talk to him about the fish and all because it's not as interesting to them.
All my friends make fun of me.
Yeah, I'm a fish nerd. Whatever. So the club is definitely a great way to meet, fellow fish members, and how we met too, and it's great. It's a great way to meet some awesome fish people.
Now, I know that that down there you guys have a pretty big celebrity. Also, is he part of that club yet?
No.
Ozzy.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, not yet. He hangs out at the stores though, so like I've talked to him a few times. So
yeah, because he's more into the monster fish, and obviously he's got that big koi pond and stuff like that. But like I said, you guys are balling out there, man. You guys have some really interesting characters. He might make it to the club.
He's real friendly about everything. Like I've had conversations with him. He follows me. Like next time, maybe I'll try to push him to go to the club, and we'll see.
I thought I saw pictures of him at Aquashella in New Jersey, and I think he was up there with Caveman.
I think he went with Kev. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's making the rounds. Very very not very often. Celebrities keep aquariums and stuff like that, but typically those celebrities have people, they hire people to take care of. All they want to do is watch them. He's the oddball where he is genuinely a fish nerd like us, where he wants to get his hands in the tanks. He knows everything about the fish, which is really interesting. That's why I think the appeal is with him is that not only is he a athlete, a star, but he's also like a real fish nerd. And I guess the other one that's like that is it Tracy Morgan? That supposedly, but he has koi fish, but he's also kind of like a real fish nerd. Shaq, he likes them, but he doesn't keep the fish. I'd never heard him talk about the kind of fish that he has and stuff like that. It's just more, I want a pond, put some fish in it, and that's pretty much it.
I'll blow your mind again. Shaq is also one of our locals.
Oh, is he?
That's true.
Yeah, he's got a giant koi pond down here. He's
also got a Krispy Kreme in Atlanta.
Yeah.
A Krispy Kreme. It's his?
Yeah. His mansion's like 10 minutes away from where my old apartment was. It's probably like 20 minutes south of here.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just saw your comment on there, Zach, about I hadn't really thought about what could predate on rice fish, but we have migratory birds that fly through here, and ducks are some of those. But unless you really have a big pond or a tote outside, I don't think do they really bother the rice fish outdoors?
That's not often. I mean, like occasionally you may have to worry about
like raccoons.
A raccoon, exactly.
Yeah, that's around here.
Yep. Raccoons, and actually, since I do have a creek in my backyard, I do have like the blue herrings that come in, blue heron. I don't know, but those can come by and actually predate on some of the rice fish. They do get a little close.
I was going to say, would they even bother with such a small fish? I mean, it seems like for the work you're going to put.
Never seen them mess with my fish. I don't really have many predators for my fish. I also don't keep any netting. Right now I have like the big planters outside for my rice fish. I don't keep netting over it. So I haven't lost anything from any predators like that. But once I get them in the totes outside, the 400-gallon totes, those will, they'll even be safer. They have lids on them. But yeah, raccoons would probably be the biggest thing you'd have to worry about with the rice fish.
Yeah.
You should see those totes.
If you have ducks in your rice fish pond, that's also another thing you got to worry about.
The totes he has, they're not like the IBC totes either. They're from like what, cereal?
Oh yeah, they're
Are they the blue ones?
They're huge.
They're
and they stack.
They're white. Yeah, they're stackable. They're 400-gallon totes, and Kellogg's used them to hold their cereal grains. And they all have like lids and everything like that. But I have 12 of those totes at the moment, and this winter project is getting them all set up for next season. But they're awesome. They're sturdy. You can stand on them. They don't have a metal cage on them, so they're a little more attractive in my opinion.
But they're double wall too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're about probably a half inch or 3/4 of an inch thick of the HDPE plastic. Yeah, they're pretty badass.
Besides the rice fish, what else are you keeping outdoors?
Oh, it's mostly rice fish at the moment. I'm gonna experiment with Neocaridina this next coming season. That was actually the main reason for the totes, was to try to breed the Neocaridinas in them. But I ended up getting a bunch of discus and decided to set up close to 100 aquariums on a rack here, and kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah, because I think that isn't that the pairing you typically see is rice fish with neocaridinas, because they both will tolerate the temperatures. I know they do okay for me out here in the summer. That's one of the things that I was kind of looking forward to this last week, and if I got up to LA, was probably picking up some rice fish, because I was going to try that. I've overwintered guppies down here in Arizona, and they do okay. I mean, not great. I will have some losses, but what does survive, it seems to be a little bit stronger. And those genetics obviously get passed on. So the next fry batch that I get seem to be doing a little bit better. The heat, I just have to be very careful that if it gets, if it's going to be over 105, I need to run at least the air stone, just to have some aeration in there. But other than that, whatever genetically is not very strong, it's gonna pass, and whatever's left is pretty resilient. So I'm getting to the point now where I can have guppies. These are all mud guppies, though. I don't have a line per se, but that'll tolerate at least the Arizona extremes, where it's like 114 in the summer. Our winters are pretty mild compared to the rest of the country, because we only get down at the coldest time of the evening. It's usually around 4 o'clock, and it dips into the mid 30s, but it's only for a few hours, and then it'll rise the temperatures back up, and we'll get in the mid 50s, 55, somewhere around there. Sometimes 60s, depending on how bright the sun's out here and whether it's windy or not. So we do tend to have some pretty mild winters compared to everybody else, but our summers is what's really brutal. So, but I every time I throw a new batch out there, I think I have about 6 right now that are surviving in this planter that I got out there. And those guys, I keep throwing in there, and whatever mates with those, and hopefully get something that's a little bit stronger. So little by little.
Oh yeah, survival of the fittest.
That's the only way you get stuff to get adapted to your temperatures out here, I guess. And that's only for the sake of keeping them outdoors, and not necessarily, but I know if they can manage the temperatures outdoors, to whoever I sell them out here in this area, they'll be fine indoors, and they don't have to worry about running a heater or anything like that. They'll be fine, because they're tolerating those temperatures. So we'll see. That's like a long run project that is kind of like set it and forget it.
Those are good projects to have. I mean, they're fun experiments. You get to learn something new every year from them.
Yeah, but now, with all the fish that you're breeding in there, which is the one that seems to have the highest demand out of your fish room?
Oh, I'll say a lot of my blue eyes get a lot of demand. Discus and my black Venezuelan corridors, the Schultz side corridors, I get those are pretty popular. Yeah, that's what I'd say probably be my most popular fish right now. And rice fish, whenever I have them, those are definitely my most popular ones.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I wanted to ask Alex, because there's always like a drop off when you record something versus actually being there in person. Is there anything that you saw in that fish room that maybe Zac hasn't really talked about, that you just thought, this is the coolest thing I've seen in a while? Is there anything like that stands out to you, Alex?
There's a lot. There's only so much I can fit into a video. I mean, I made an hour-long video, and it's still like he's got all these totes set up outside. I didn't really get to look at that too much. We didn't really cover just his living room. He's got a bunch of tanks. He's got full-on display tanks off on the side that are really cool, and then like little bowls and things. You should just like the main like takeaway is that he's just got all these experiments everywhere. He's constantly running all kinds of different experiments and trial and error and testing things. And you can tell he's like being like really methodical about it. And like the other like giant highlight is also he's only been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah.
And you should see this fish room. It's crazy. And it's not just like it's like, oh, he's got 100 tanks or whatever. They're set up nicely. They're plumbed perfectly. You know, the stands are good. He's got like the blinds over here that cover the tops of the tanks, and he made 3D printed hinges for them. He does a lot of 3D printing. And I think you sell some 3D prints.
Yeah.
So he's got like I think it was like discus stuff.
I have some discus cones, as well as like pleco caves, you know, Corey little hideout huts. I'm coming up with a few different products that I'm working on right now that are going to be released soon as I'm refining them. But yeah, I mean, I'm always working on something. Experiments are fun. That's something that keeps my brain going. I can't be stagnant. My fish. There's always something to maybe help them reproduce a little more efficiently. I'm always trying to figure something out.
It's like every 2 feet in here, there's like something else where you're like, what is this? What are you doing here? And there's just so much stuff.
Now, what's it like to try to feed all these tanks? Are you creating your own live cultures to try to feed all this stuff, or are you going through a lot of fish food? What's that? Run me through that, because you got almost in excess of 100 tanks. What's that budget look like?
Well, it's not too bad whenever you can get a culture going. So obviously brine shrimp, just the number one thing. Depending on the brand you get, the budget may be a little different. Aquarium co-ops can be about $30, $35. But if you get some brine shrimp direct ones, those would be a little bit cheaper. And really, you just kind of have to balance out what really is worth spending money on. And as long as you get the baby brine shrimp to them, that's what really matters. I also have set up, a larger blackworm culture tray. That is doing very well and has been, thriving. So that's another thing. That's a big thing for the Corridoras. The discus love them. But I have some bloodworms that I keep. Just some few frozen foods that I have. But I do like to have a lot of live culture set up, as well as any prepared foods. I do also feed them to that as well, especially if I'm trying to sell a fish. I want to at least train the fish before selling that. Prepared foods are good, just in case the ones that the home they're going to needs to serve them prepared foods. As long as it's a fish that can take prepared foods. Pea puffer's a little bit challenging, but most of them can take it.
Are you breeding those too?
I am.
Success? Any success yet? Or
I do. I have had great success with pea puffers. I've got probably over a dozen of them in my little fry tray right now.
Now, are those eggs? Are you having to pull them out of the aquarium, or are they community breeding?
So those are originally when I was breeding pea puffers, I had them in a 14-gallon cube. Pretty, fairly heavily vegetated. But whenever I would remove, I noticed some spawning behaviors with the female and the male, and I've actually got to see them do the little dance and everything, and actually remove them from that tank and put them into another tank to try to actually breed them in that tank. But when I did that, I noticed that I had probably 13 fry in that tank when I removed their parents.
Oh, okay.
and which was awesome. So now what I'm doing with my pea puffers is I have them set up in a 10-gallon. Probably have about six or so. Probably one male, one or two males, to four females, um, and an automatic egg collector. So that's really it's as
Oh, okay.
simple as that. And I have the automatic egg. It's one of the Lowell Fish Labs. Uh, One of his egg collectors that goes up to one of his trays, and I just have that tray filled with moss, and the eggs will go up into there, and they'll just hatch out, and they'll thrive in that tray for a little bit until I transfer them to a different one. Uh, but it's really, I mean, it's simple as that. You know, that's pretty much hands off for me. I mean, I guess I'm lucky in that sense, but they're working and they're thriving.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because I are is the breeding behavior of the pea puffers similar to, I guess it's the Congo puffers, where it seems like it's real vicious because the male will be biting at the abdomen of the female. Is that kind of the same situation with the pea puffers?
It's it's not as aggressive, but it is very similar. It's more of like the male is definitely trying to you know court the female, and it's to the point where they'll actually end up going to like a spawning location, and they'll kind of curl up against each other and do like a little
Mm.
shaky dance, and that's really all that it is. But it's not very violent or anything like that. It's pretty, from the beginning, like at the start, and maybe a little bit, you may think it's a little aggressive, but once they get to the location and do their spawning, it's totally normal.
No, okay. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool that you got to witness that. Um, any, which of all those species that you're breeding in there, has there been any that have been like a lot more challenging than you were anticipating?
Yeah, so technically it is this pair of discus. They're laying eggs and they're breeding really pretty well, but they're terrible parents, and they eat all the eggs, and maybe they'll have like one or two fried that they'll keep alive, but eventually they'll eat them. But those guys are, they're paying my ass, and I'm working on them, pretty consistently right now. Uh, but that's the one that I've been trying to hone in on. That's the hardest for me. So
Yeah, because I guess discus, it's not like angelfish where you could pull out the eggs and raise them on their own because they have to feed off the parent's mucous membrane. Has anybody figured out a way to breed them where they're not? I mean, raise them by not doing that. Like separate it from the
yeah,
parents. It is possible to do that?
yeah, it is. It is possible to raise them artificially. That is actually something I'm experimenting with right now. I've 3D printed some bowls for the fry, and the bowls have a little bit of ridges on the side of them, so that any food that collects on the ridges they can eat off because the ridges on the side, and since they're vertical feeders, they can just eat off the sides of the bowls. So that's
Mm.
something I'm seeing right now to see how it goes. It's still, I probably got, I think, three fry that I was able to, you know, make successful. So we'll see how it goes with them.
So is that the biggest challenge? Is trying to get the food delivered to those fish because of their feeding habits?
It is, yes, yeah. They really want to eat off a vertical surface, and that is, what their instincts are. So, that's something that I've noticed that is something beneficial for them to have is the bowl that has the ridges on the side for the for them to catch the food, so it's easier for them to access. It's seems to be doing well so far. Like I said, it is still kind of a new experiment for me, but it's working.
Mm. Yeah. Shit, I was gonna ask something, but I forgot. As far as the channel name, where does the Nezzy Nets originate from? Is it
That's a good
Nezzy
one.
because of Loch Ness Monster or?
Well, my last name's Nesbitt.
Oh, okay.
So when I was in middle school, one of my buddies gave me, I'm not a rapper or nothing, but he said, "Hey, if you're a rapper, your rapper name's Z Nezzy." And I'm like, cool. That's my rapper name. So the Nezzy part is something I kind of stuck around. But in my beginning days, I was actually making nets. Um, I haven't been making nets, but maybe I'll get back into it. But I was, it was Nezzy Nets, the net maker. But now, it can also be as a, I'm Nezzy and I net my fish. I guess it could be taken anyway, but it's
Now, what kind of nets were you making? Was it like for fishing or for aquarium nets?
they're aquarium nets. They're smaller shrimp nets
Mm.
because a lot of the nets I have for shrimp collapse on themselves. So I was creating a net that didn't collapse on itself. Um,
Oh, you're
and then I
doing
saw
the.
some other ones that were kind of like it, and I kind of lost my motivation. But I could still probably make it better than theirs. So who knows? We'll see how it goes. I might get back into it.
Yeah, I guess a big thing is also people that make the Madaka rice fish nets. There seems to be like this real that you got to get. Well, not
The
there's
round
a
net
special
with the mesh.
or yeah the real flat mesh to be able to get
Yeah.
them out and made out of bamboo handles and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
That really seems to be like the trendy thing for fishing out your rice
It's
fish.
just a snobby gimmick.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
well, it's I guess there's a purpose to it. What I found really interesting, I got to go to an event that was focused on Madaka rice fish, and one of the challenges that they had was they gave you a net that was made out of rice paper, so it was pretty flat. It's a round circular net, and as many of those things you could fish out with that net is how many you got to keep. It was like a $10 buy-in for it was like a carnival event. I was amazed how well they held up. Depending on how gentle you were with the maneuvering of the net in the water, they held up. I think it kind of backfired on their idea of how this was going to work out. They didn't expect people to wipe them out with how many fish they were able to scoop up with a paper net. But I did notice that they tend to be a little bit flatter, and it makes it easier to come under them and be able to pick them out. I don't know if it's because of the net design or if it's just tradition that's the way they were done. But I do notice that the nets for rice fish are very different than what conventional nets are for the rest of the aquarium hobby.
Oh yeah, I think mostly it's just due to the fact their eyes are close to the top of their heads. So being able to scoop them up from underneath is a lot easier, and they typically hang around the top of the water. So it's a flatter net. Kind of makes sense to kind of scoop under and pick them up. That's just my theory for how it works for them in Japan. That's what I see a lot. I did debate on maybe making some nets similar, but I don't have time for that right now.
Now with all the tanks you got in there.
No, no, no. I gotta breed some fish.
Now, the other thing that comes to mind is with that many tanks, at what point did you realize I got to get automated? Or was it something that from the get-go is like, I'm going to set up tanks and I'm going to just do the automation? Because I know from my experience, you never think about those things until halfway through the project of setting up your fish room where you go, man, I should have automated most of the water changes in the fish room. What was that like for you?
Well, there was a point. So I did start upstairs, and then when I came downstairs, I set up a section, with some 920 gallons and a couple of 10-gallon racks. But it was that was all manual water changes, and then when I ended up purchasing, I think 110-gallon aquariums, from somebody that was letting them off. I decided that I didn't want to do a water change on this many aquariums. So when I built this rack is when I designed the rack to actually have the water change system in it, and then anything after that is on the auto water change system. But I do still have probably 60 tanks or so that aren't automated. But
Now, for the ones that you have to do manually, how long does it take you to go through all that, and how soon are you going to automate them because you realize it's a pain in the butt to do manual water changes?
Yeah, that's We'll see how that goes. Like the upstairs, that one's probably going to be manual, just because I don't want to plumb everything downstairs or do anything like that. But the other ones down here in the basement, um, yeah, we'll see when I'm going to get to it. But I do plan to make them manual. But depends on how pissed off I get. When that time comes. I still find it to be peaceful, until I get angry, then I'll do something about it.
Well, I know in the video there was the side of your fish room garage where you had some bikes. I can't imagine you have any time to continue doing that hobby with that many aquariums, or is it something you still find time to work on and turn wrench on motorcycles?
There's I have very little time to work in those motorcycles realistically. But I do still have, time that I can plan to allocate towards them. I do have a section of my basement just for like shop and metalworking, welding, and everything like that. So I do still plan to continue on with that. Now with the motorcycles, yeah, I mean, I don't plan to getting rid of them anytime soon. That's just a project that'll come on as the time goes and all that. But it's mainly fish. That's where I'm at.
So, do you have any motorcycles that you actually are up and running, or is just the ones that you have in your shop that are still in the process of getting put together?
Yeah, I do have it's a 2022 Indian FTR. It's a sportier version of like an Indian. It's a 1200, so it's a pretty mean machine. Uh, that is my not project bike that I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about.
We're gonna have to ride together in the spring.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. I missed out.
Now I
Lot of
noticed
life.
that. Do you like the vintage bikes? Because that seems what you're working on right now, right? Is like
Yeah.
early '80s models or stuff and stuff like that. What is it about those bikes that you find interesting?
I just with the Harley that I have, it's a 1981 Harley. I got a good deal on it. That was the main thing. But I'm definitely interested in the weird history with Harley and AMF. The making bowling pins and all that stuff, but also making Harleys. It is interesting part of their history. But I also have like a 1985 Yamaha IT 200. It's a two-stroke dirt bike. I built that with one of my best buddies back in the day during COVID. That thing it's just a beast. I just love the vintage bikes. It's kind of popular. If you were to Google IT 200 on Google, you'll see my bike. It's the first image that comes up on Google, which I'm proud of. No, I worked hard on that thing. Took it to a show and all, but just restoring the older bikes and bringing them to a new life was definitely a big thing for me. I just love doing that.
Are you modifying them or are you restoring them back to original?
Mostly restoring back to original. I'll do some modifications to some, but it's back to original.
Mm. You got any mods in mind for your actual bike?
Oh, no, that thing is I bought that thing. It's technically like the top of the line model. It's like got carbon fiber and Olin
Oh, okay.
suspension. So yeah, it's a mean machine. If I do anything else with it, I don't think I would be able to handle it.
It's already pretty freaking quick.
It's
That
insane.
kind of bike is fast. So
Yeah.
So it's not a cruiser style. It's more of
no,
a okay.
Yes, it's the FTR. Like it's actually styled after the flat track racers that they had. The Indian was making for the actual flat track races in the circle. But those were all 700s. But Indian decided to make the FTR, for the consumers, be a 1200. So it's even more power. Has like wheelie control, so you can make sure you don't loop the bike because it still has the V twin setup. So V twins are known to have a lot of torque and a lot of power, and you kind of have that in a sportier, bike is it's a little rambunctious, but it's fun.
Now, I don't know if this because you're married, right?
I am.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to answer this or not, but
Careful.
what's the fastest you've been able to go on it?
Uh, I was with a buddy, and I'd say I was going probably 135.
Okay, that's not too
Um,
bad.
and then I think that's when I took my eyes off the speedometer. But my buddy said we reached 150.
Yeah, I don't think I've. When I was younger, I might have done it, but now that I'm older, I kind of hesitate because I didn't know the wobble was a thing until I started watching
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And so once I realized that was an actual thing, I don't really go past 120. It's kind of like I think at this point I'm really pushing it. So,
Yeah, it's like
but
the handlebar resonance.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Gotta get
and
the calipers
there's
on.
very few people are able to recover from that. So, and I don't know if I would be able to do it. I don't know what. I'm assuming you let off the throttle and let it kind of slow down, just kind of like what you would do with a trailer that's whipping on you. But
Exactly.
I'm too old to try to experience that adrenaline rush.
No, that's fair. I'm probably not experiencing that much adrenaline rush that much anymore anyway. So especially after my crash and all, it kind of slowed me down a little bit.
Oh, so that's how you broke your collarbone was on a motorcycle crash?
It was on a well, it's silly because it was on a miniature dirt bike, so it's
Okay.
not even anything really cool. But I was racing my buddies on a miniature dirt bike, and it was at night, so it's very bright, for me to do. Uh, and I was taking a turn really really tight, and there's apparently concrete, structure or something that was coming out the ground, and I was kicking my rear end out to try to cut the corner, and my rear end hit that concrete and
And kick back.
flung me over and crack.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a good thing that it was a mini bike because if you had done that on a full size bike, you probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about it.
No, no, I wouldn't be in the
So,
fish at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, any future plans that you have or goals that you kind of set for yourself? What's ultimately what you like to be able to accomplish with your fish room?
Well, I guess sales would be cool. That is
Okay.
something I'm trying to grow a little bit more, kind of creating more products and releasing more of my products because I got some pretty good ideas and some things that I could release that could be very useful for everybody really in this hobby. So getting more of those products out, uh, making YouTube videos, that is definitely a big thing of mine as well. That's I'm actually working on a video now. That's something I started recording today. Um, how to make my little greenhouses. So if you want to watch that, I'll be making something for it. But yeah, YouTube's definitely something I want to get more active in. Because I feel like I got a lot of things to share to everybody, and I have some pretty decent knowledge that I can at least reflect off anybody, and if anybody has anything they want to teach me, I know YouTube is definitely going to be a great platform for me in this hobby. Uh, so that's the goal. That's not. It's not. I was going to say we'll see how it goes, but it's going to go, and that's something I got to do.
Yeah, it's not
I've
like
been
you're gonna
pushing
go
them.
away and
Yeah.
not do this anymore. It's only get once you seems like you're all in. So
Yeah, I'm definitely all in. I can't pull out now.
well, that's good to hear. It'll be interesting. I'm assuming, and based off of what you've kind of said, uh, you've probably taken some inspiration from Lowe's uh, fish room and the style of videos that he does. Is that kind of what we can kind of expect from you? That kind of DIY sharing knowledge from your breeding experiences?
Yeah, that's definitely something you would expect from me. Education on some live foods, on maybe how to keep a live food at home for yourself. Um, Definitely on how to breed certain fishes. and how to raise their fry, and I want to try to create something that's something that an everyday person would want to not be intimidated by. Fish breeding can be a little scary for some folks, but fry can be grown out pretty easily, and discus can be kept pretty easily as well. Depending on your water quality and whatnot. But
Yeah.
Everybody wants your black worms.
hey, well,
They keep telling me they want your black worm video.
I'll make a black worm video.
They want to see the table.
Yeah.
Now, is
a
this
black worm
a table that you made, or did you convert an aquarium into a table, or what's the story behind this black worm table?
Yeah, so it's a table I made.
Okay.
It's actually, I'm using one of the lids to my totes outside, the Kellogg totes. They come with lids that you can remove off of them. And they're actually about 4 inches deep. So
Okay.
perfect shallow tray for blackworms. They have low spots in the tray, so they actually kind of like lock in place to one of the. There's a certain stand or something that I'm using from Lowe's. I can't remember what it's called, but it locks in place perfectly on the top. And I originally had a canister filter that was pumping water from the tank up to the tray. But recently, like 2 days ago, the water level had become low in the tray because the tank is sitting below the canister filter technically, and the canister filter is wanting to pump up into the tray, and it was yelling at me and gurgling like crazy. So I routed that just to filter the tank below, but I have a standalone pump it's a 46-gallon
Okay.
bow front tank that sits below the tray. And that's just to add extra water volume to the tray above. But I have a water pump that pumps the water from the tank below up to the tray. So I don't have to worry about that happening again. And now it's really, I feel like it's really honed in. And it's thriving.
Now, I know with the black worms, you have to segment them in order to reproduce. Are you going in there and manually doing that, or you just kind of set them and forget them and they do their own thing?
Yeah, so I, you kind of have a little strategy. I mean, I do set them and forget them, but I also put their food in certain locations so they can crawl across the gravel. I will go in there and kind of stir my hands in there just to make sure blackworms are underneath the gravel, and when I do that, it does stir them up as well. But primarily, the sharp gravel and putting the food in different locations will make them crawl, and segment them. And ultimately, some will actually go into the back drains, and when they go down there into the little sump area, they'll also get sucked into the pump, and we'll section them off to pieces as well, and just multiplies them.
So do you have another colony?
As of yesterday, it's my theory.
Do you have another colony going in the sump now because of the ones that get down there?
I have like 5 of the aquarium co-op the sponge filters set up down there that are running, and they're just stocked full of any extra blackworms that I have that are in the filters. And I also, have a separate tank with blackworms in them as well, just as a backup. It's good to have a backup.
So with those sponge filters, I'm assuming you whenever you have like cories that you're really trying to fatten up and breed, you just take that, put it in that aquarium, and let them nibble off of it. Or
so with those are more set up for like any new tanks I'm about to set up. I'll have a season filter ready for them, and any new fish I'm about to put in that tank, they'll have food immediately there for them. Like for the corridors, I'll just pretty much scoop out the blackworms for them and put it in their tank. Any extras that go in the sand and kind of just survive in there, but not for long. Cores will eat them up. Yeah, but the filters that I have going are primarily for any new tank I'm about to set up, or if there's somebody new coming into the hobby that wants to set up a tank, I'll have a season filter ready for them.
Yeah, season filter with blackworms, that's a bonus.
That's a bonus for sure. That's a good deal.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you haven't got an opportunity to talk about that you like to be able to touch on, or are we pretty much covered everything that there is to cover, which I doubt, but
Oh, well, I mean, it's like there's always going to be something I'm gonna forget to mention. I have so much going on that there's always something to mention later on. I guess really, I guess at the end, and I noticed at the end of the video we made together, he asked me a similar question, and I said no. But really, it's kind of, it's cheesy, but if there's something you really want to do, just do it. Uh, you know, it ain't gonna get done until you get it done. That's really how it goes. So if you got a goal, just get it done. Just shoot for it. And that's I know a lot of people will say it, but it's true. Just, hopefully that's kind of what I'm gonna do for YouTube. Hopefully I can grind with YouTube and hope grow on there too. So that's kind of my goals for this year. We'll see how it goes.
hmm. Now, Alex, was there? I know you said there's a lot of stuff that you were really interested in and found interesting, but what's the one thing that really stood out to you, especially because you have a fish room that you saw that he was doing different, that all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh shit, I hadn't thought about that. Was there anything like that?
With like the rack that he has upstairs, he's got like hard blinds that cover the lights, and they're held on with magnets and like 3D printed like brackets. And then I think the hinges, or at least the hinges on the ones down here, they're like 3D printed hinges that are really cool. Um,
They lock in place.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's kind of.
If you look around in here, there's just 3D printed stuff everywhere. Like you'll start to see, and then whenever you see something like that where it's like a custom print, there was like a specific problem for that. And then as you look at it and you see the shape, you can kind of like figure out like he was looking at like a certain angle to try to figure out a certain problem, and you can kind of like see like the troubleshooting going through. And there's just like hundreds of them. There's all kinds of different things everywhere. So
So, any chance that any of these products you might put on your website for sale?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm always doing R&D. That's research and development. So
Hmm.
I have a lot of prototypes, but I am definitely honing in. There's at least one, two, three, four, five, probably about six products that I'm going to be really releasing here. Three new products soon. But I have three products up on Etsy right now that I'm 3D printed. But I'm working on. I got one that I've pretty much honed in on, and we'll be releasing in this video I'm going to be making up here soon.
yeah, he's got nezzynets.com. He's got his Etsy store, and then he's on Aquafinder now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
you
that
have
was
any
going to
like
be.
the bowls down there? I can grab one.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask is people trying to reach out to you. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Which social media platforms do you prefer, or where can they find you?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, so if you were to check out Nezzy Nets on Instagram, I'll respond to you pretty quickly. Facebook, similar thing. You can also email nezzynets@gmail.com. Thank you. And really, the website as well. My nezzynets.com needs a little more updating, but you can find contact info on there. But Alex grabbed me a couple of these bowls here that I'm working on. These are my discus bowls, 3D printed. But they have, it's I printed these to have the fuzzy, print function. But they have fuzzy sides that you can probably see on there. But those sides, what my theory is that it's going to hold the food because it has extra friction to grab whatnot. The fine particles of food for the baby discus eat off the sides. I kind of wanted to create a steeper of a slope, so it's more of a vertical bowl rather than like a shallow bowl. But this is something that I am working on and still experimenting with. If it's I mean, so far it's working out great for me. So if there are any discus breeders that want to experiment with these bowls, I'll have them available soon too. But that's one of the things I'm working on right now.
Do you have so let me grab this.
Yeah.
So is this one here like white because like you have like the white on the sides of the discus tanks? Is it specifically?
Yeah, so that one I was wanting to experiment to see. It has the two different colors on there. So I noticed that a lot of the baby discus tend to go towards the top of the bowl to feed, and when they do that, I notice I keep all my discus in a white tank. So I'm thinking, it's all an experiment. So I'm thinking maybe it'll help them develop better coloration as they grow up. It may be useless, may have no actual, use to it, but it's an experiment. So I'm experimenting with different colors. I do think white, just straight up white, is definitely probably the better option for the babies because you can see the babies, very clearly, as well as any excess food. You'll be able to clean them out pretty easily and see what to clean out. With these, it is recommended to. I like to make sure I clean the water out of them every day. So
Okay.
they're sitting in they're floating in a tank.
Oh, okay.
And underneath them they're sitting in a tray, and like a floating tray that I make as well. This is just to prevent this from floating or from sinking all the way. I may make these with a ring on the top to float in a tank so they can maintain a higher temperature, higher water quality as well. With maybe a little aeration going, like fresh water going into them. But as of now, like doing this kind of a daily water change with them, it seems to be pretty good.
Now, the one question I had, because you said the food is supposed to get trapped on the side of the bowls, is there a specific way you're placing the food in there, or just put it in the middle and it eventually get to the sides?
Pretty much. I have a powder food that I will mix with water, and then I'll pipette any of the food.
Okay.
I'll direct it towards the sides of the food.
Yeah, so you target it towards the sides of the bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, before I forget, they want to know what's the name of your Etsy shop.
It's Nezzy Nets as well.
Okay, they can find. So most of your social media is anything that you're looking for, they'll find you as Nezzy Nets.
Exactly. I'm Nezzy Nets. You can just you find me anything called Nezzy Nets. That's me.
I think it's linked on your YouTube page on like the about side.
Yes.
Okay.
I do need to update my YouTube page. I do have my Twitch account still on there, and that's back when I was doing live streams of my aquarium, back in the day, and I haven't done that again in a while. But yeah, I'll have to update my YouTube links and everything, but I do have pretty much everything on there.
Well, Funk showed up kind of late. We were just talking. we spent about an hour and a half talking. Well, not an hour and a half, but an hour talking about him, and he finally decides to come in at the end. But I don't. Well, again, I do want to thank you so much for taking the time and accepting the invitation and coming on here. I want to thank Alex for making this happen. He's the one that kind of brought you to my attention. And I'm kind of glad he did, because it's been really interesting getting to know you and what you're working on. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future. I'm sure Alex could probably go back and film out another hour and still not finish completely covering your entire setup.
I'm gonna try to make him do it. Every 10 messages is like, when's the YouTube stuff happening?
Yeah. He's putting a little fire under my ass, so I'm definitely motivating and about to go gung ho and making some videos for sure. But I'm very grateful for you having me on here. It's been great talking with you, and I'm very grateful for Alex here too for shine the light on me. It's been nice.
Alex has been a big cheerleader for you. I know he's been telling me about what you got going on there, and I'm glad he did, because it's really interesting to see what you got going on. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody that joined us tonight. It's been a while since I've done anything. I've kind of had to take a little bit of a time off. We had some stuff that we were dealing with, but that seems to, moved on past from that. And just want to thank everybody for your constant support. And we'll see you in the next one. You guys take care, and look out for the next plug coming up, and see who else we get to discover together. You guys take care, enjoy it, and we'll see you guys soon.
Have a good one.
Let me end this. All right.